most revealing thing about this CIA whitewash of its own failings is that the parts of the OIG report dealing with Saudi Arabia, implications, and accountability are entirely redacted. Frankly, I find it amusing that anyone would expect any agency or branch of the U.S. government to publicly take a position which contradicts the establishment's 9/11 dogma, when clearly exposing any inconvenient truths about 9/11 would by its nature compromise national security and violate the oath sworn by every member of the political and security apparatus. The process by which the OIG report was produced was essentially an internal investigation by an agency, that is the CIA, which last year's scathing report on Bush-era torture in effect found to be a rogue agency dominated by a faction operating outside the law. That Congress would charge this same agency with assessing its own performance in the lead-up to 9/11 brings to mind a soap opera that alternates between Shakespearean comedy and tragedy, but without the dissolution of whims, absurdities, and delusions, which is the hallmark of Shakespeare's work. The report concludes that none of the pre-9/11 CIA shortcomings involved illegality or misconduct, and that those in the agency who distinguished themselves with exemplary conduct have already received, quote, monetary rewards, unquote. The OIG report also expresses the view that such problems which did exist were the result of systemic problems rather than misconduct. Yet, the review still manages to conclude that the agency and its officers did not discharge their responsibilities in a satisfactory manner. The terms of the CIA Office of the Inspector General Inquiry were only to review the findings of the 2002 Joint Inquiry Report and undertake any additional investigations necessary to determine, quote, whether any agency employees were deserving of awards for outstanding service before the 9/11 attacks or should be held accountable for failure to perform their responsibilities in an unsatisfactory manner, unquote. The team assembled by the OIG was not asked by Congress to conduct a comprehensive review of the agency counterterrorism programs and did not do so. Moreover, the OIG team was not in any way asked to examine what actually happened on 9/11 and quite clearly took as its starting point the dogmatic positions set out in the 9/11 Commission report and the NIST report, positions which skeptics assume in no small part originated with the CIA itself. As a result, the OIG report, like the 9/11 Commission report, reeks of being a stage-managed whitewash. The review from those of the JI on some matters, that is the Joint Inquiry, reaches the same overall conclusions on the important issues. The review team found that many officers performed their responsibilities in an exemplary fashion and found no instance in which an employee violated the law. The OIG report expressly states that none of the errors discussed in the report involved misconduct, and that while some of the agency officers did not always act professionally, skillfully, or with due diligence, the review team found no instance in which an employee violated the law and took the view, moreover, that those who were deserving of recognition have already received, quote, monetary rewards and other forms of acknowledgement, unquote. So it did not recommend that any others be recognized. In assessing the redacted findings about involvement in 9/11 by the KSA, the team expressly deferred consideration of such matters to the Department of Justice and the FBI, while adding, in yet another whitewash, that the team encountered, quote, no evidence that the Saudi government knowingly and willingly supported al-Qaeda terrorists, unquote. with all due respect, this focus on express intent to support terrorists rather than simply looking at general support for al-Qaeda, its ideology and its cause is somewhat baffling. It certainly does not reflect the aggressive position which has since 2001 been the driving force of U.S. foreign policy and its supposed war on terrorism.